George Balekji here with Zack after the Patriots just wrapped up their last practice of training camp before their last preseason game this Friday against the Titans. But a sight for sore eyes. Mike Onwenu back at practice for the first time since last season as he started the offseason on the PUP with an ankle surgery and injury. Zack, what do you see from Onwenu at right guard as he's back with the team finally?
Well, today we didn't see a whole lot. He was back on the field. He was in uniform. He was in full pads. Was limited in practice today, didn't take part in any of the team drills, spent most of practice working on a side field. But the fact that he was out here at all is a massive boost for the Patriots offensive line. He was probably the single biggest question mark on this team going into the regular season because, as you mentioned, hadn't seen him on the field since last season, didn't practice at all in the spring, didn't practice at all in the summer until today, and he's probably their best all-around offensive lineman. Obviously, offensive line play, a major question mark for this team. We'll see if he can get back in time for week one because, again, he didn't do a whole lot in there. But the fact that he is taking that positive step toward that return, certainly a very good sign for the Patriots offense.
Yeah, even with Onwenu back at practice, he was limited, didn't participate in 11-on-11s. We saw Mafia at left guard, Reef at right guard, and still City Sal, the rookie at right tackle. A lot of protection issues, even when the offense seemed to flow. Then we go into the offense. The biggest free agency signing this offseason, Ezekiel Elliott, practiced with the team going back to Green Bay, spoke with the media for the first time today. A lot of reps with the ones. What stood out to you with Zeke, who seems to be the RB2 for the Patriots?
Yeah, we've seen him on the practice field here in Foxborough the last 2 days. As you mentioned, working a lot with Mac Jones, working with Bailey Zappi as well. Really involved in the passing game. You've seen him see a lot of targets from both Jones and Zappi in these practices. That's one of the things he brings. He's an all-around back, even though he's known as more of kind of a bruiser type back, really good in those short yardage situations. But he's a guy who can play on all three downs. Ramondre Stevenson, also a guy who can play on all three downs. So both of them have said that their skill sets complement each other pretty well, and I would agree with that. I think they are very clearly the Patriots' number one and number two backs. You could probably even call them the 1 and 1A because Ezekiel Elliott has been a very productive player throughout his career, even though he isn't quite on that all-pro level that he used to be. But I expect those two guys, as long as they're able to stay healthy, to handle the vast majority of running back snaps and touches for the Patriots this season.
And two things stood out. We spoke to Matt Judon as well. All the teammates for the Patriots saying how Ezekiel Elliott right away stepping in, being a leader, owning being a vocal guy on the team.
Fitting in very well so far based on everything we've heard from their players.
And hey, credit to him too. Stepped in, started practicing. He's in better shape than guys knew that training camp would start back all the way in the beginning of August. So as we saw depth gained by the Patriots offense in two spots, little concern on defense. Christian Gonzalez going down at the end of practice, 11-on-11s. Looked like a left leg injury. What did you see from your vantage point?
Yeah, he was in coverage on Thyrick Pitts on an 11-on-11 rep. Allowed a catch, kind of landed awkwardly, came up limping, limped over to the sideline, ended up sitting on a bench for the rest of practice. Looked like trainers were checking out his left ankle area. He was able to stand up and walk over and kind of participate in the post-practice huddle breakdown that Bill Belichick has, and was able to walk off on his own power. So that was certainly a good sign. Unclear at this point to tell exactly how severe that injury was, but for a team that's already been without Jonathan Jones for the last 3 weeks? He hasn't practiced since early in August. To lose potentially their number one and their number two cornerbacks, even if it's a relatively minor injury situation for both of them, that's problematic, especially when you look at the roster of big-time wide receivers this team is going to be seeing early in the season.
Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, Cowboys. That's the first 4 games they open up against. It is going to be a gauntlet. So speaking on Christian Gonzalez, Jack Jones also speaking with the media the second time this offseason, telling us his court date's been backed up to mid-September. No word yet from him or really anybody if there's a decision coming down from the league. But listening in on Jack, anything jump out to you when he was going through his about minute and a half of media availability?
Yeah, he was a little bit more expansive in this media availability than he was the last time we talked to him a few weeks back. As you mentioned, his court date was pushed back. It was supposed to be last Friday. Now it is September 15th. He said that probably the most interesting thing to come out of it was that he admitted that it can be a distraction at times. It has been a little bit difficult for him, he said, to kind of keep everything in his mind and mesh it with what he has to do on the field, as you can probably imagine. He did say he hopes to be available for week one, hasn't heard anything from the NFL about any potential investigation or suspension or discipline or anything like that. And at this point, it seems like there's not going to be anything like that until there is some sort of legal repercussions if those do eventually come down. So it seems like Jack Jones, barring some sort of surprise, should be on the field and should be ready for the Patriots in Week 1. And if Jonathan Jones and or Christian Gonzalez aren't able to go in that game, that increases the importance of an already very important part of the Patriots secondary.
Yeah, A.J. Brown for the Eagles is definitely paying attention. But that wraps it up from Patriots training camp this season. Last practice today, last preseason game Friday. Zack Cox will be there to cover it. Patriots and Titans. Keep it locked in with him and Dakota Randall and on NESN.com and NESN 360 for full Patriots coverage.